here at Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City, where the Buffaloes are going to try to get a win after the bye week. Sean, you've really broken down this matchup. What are the keys for the Buffaloes in this game?
I think the big key, defensively is just being able to put a stop to the running game, slow it down at least. And with that, the downhill quarterback runs, regardless of whether it's Devin Dampier or Bird Fickle who plays, I think that's going to be the big key, is that straight ahead downward quarterback run game. If you can slow that down, they've got good backs, but they haven't really shown the ability to take games over this year. And then I think offensively, it's figuring out a way to quickly pick up where you left off 2 weeks ago.
I'm going to throw it to you this way. Colorado has given up over 200 yards rushing against 4 of the 5 Power 4 opponents they've played so far this season. If they hold Utah under 200, do they win this football game?
I think they have a shot. I mean, I kind of think that's one of those things that has to happen for them to win. I think if you see Utah, sitting at 200 yards midway through the fourth quarter, I think that's going to be an ugly game. But on the flip side, this is not the same, even though they're statistically ranked pretty well, it's not the same BYU or Utah defense that we've seen in years past either. They've given up 200 yards rushing twice this season themselves. They're averaging giving up 150 yards, which includes a couple of teams that barely ran the ball at all. So I think it fits well for what CU wants to do offensively, and I think there's some areas for the offense to attack. I think for it to be successful, it may just be one of those games that comes down to who has the ball at the end of the game.
And I knew Utah was a little bit of a lesser version of itself here recently, and we saw that at Folsom Field last year. But going back and doing the research and seeing that they're 9-13 in their last 22 conference games is kind of signaled something with this program that I don't know if Morgan Scaley is going to be the head coach next year, but this is a program that is still on solid footing, but not quite to the extent that it was what we were used to most of those years when Colorado was competing against these Utes in the Pac-12.
Yeah, and I think that they've done they've been slower than a lot of schools, I think, to adjust to the new NIL era. And so they have not had as much success just with straight recruiting out of high school as they have in the past. So you've seen them, this year over the last, 18 months really, kind of focus in on bringing in some players through the portal and key players that are contributing. They've got 3 guys off of that New Mexico team. So besides Devin Dampier, they've got, one of their running backs and their top wide receiver came out of the New Mexico program along with their offensive coordinator. And they've gotten a couple of guys from BYU that are starting on the defensive line. So they've had to target some of that stuff. But I think what you're seeing too with that record is that behind a lot of that, there's not as much depth as you would historically have seen from a Utah team.
Drelon Miller back for the Buffs tonight. He's one of those guys when I look to being an X factor for the Buffaloes tonight. I look right to him because I think he is due for a real breakout performance.
Yeah, and I hope so too. I'm really hoping that we see a lot of 20 and 21 personnel because it's I think without Yaya Atia being able to contribute as that extra lineman in off the ball, I'm not sure, really how comfortable anybody is with Zach Atkins playing that role for a full game. So I think, having 2 backs in the game, at least with one of them being Drelon, who's a bit of a bigger back, gives you a variety of options, and you can also use him as a lead blocker. So it'll be interesting to see what Pat Shurmur does and how that plays out.
Defensively for the Buffaloes, it feels like linebackers are going to be the position that you kind of key on. If they live up to their potential tonight, maybe Colorado comes out of here with a victory, but if not, then probably not.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the things, besides the offenses, you wanted to see Jeremiah Brown pick up where he left off last week. He's emerged a little bit in the last 6 quarters maybe, and has played pretty well. So if he can pick up and you kind of see him taking over the leadership in that room, then I think, between Hughes and French, you've got some good companions to put back there with him really being that downhill run, stopper and let the other guys fly sideline to sideline.
And Dallin Hayden just walked behind us. He's another guy that it's coming for him. He's definitely put in the work. And So we'll see if Colorado can compete out here at Rice-Eccles Stadium. They're trying to get to 3-3, which would be huge for their bowl chances in 2025.